Hello, and welcome to the Snippets of Leadership podcast. Hello, and welcome back. This is the second out of 4 episodes on emotional intelligence. And look, I know it's a huge topic, but as I said last time, if you really want to grow as a leader, you can't shy away from it because you're managing people now, not just tasks. And managing people does bring emotions into the game. So, last time we looked at how to recognize precisely what emotion you're feeling and what's behind it. This time, we'll look at how to manage them. I hope the link between the 2 steps is clear, but just in case, to manage something well, you need to know what you're dealing with. So unless you're at least aware of your emotions, you won't be able to handle them well. And the reason you need to handle them well is because otherwise they will get in your way. If you don't manage your emotions, they will manage you. So if you are in a bad place emotionally, you won't be able to think clearly, to judge well, or to focus on what you need to do. So the first step is getting yourself out of that bad place. And once you're out, what you don't want is to slip right back in that bad place and keep up your focus, mood, and attention. So as you can see, this is a 2-step process that needs to be clear. You need to go through both of them whenever you want to engage with managing your emotions. And well, to go through the first step well, getting out of a bad place, here is what you need to do. 3 things. Number 1, be aware of what's behind you being down. That's basically the previous episode. If you know where the problem is, you can target it well. Number 2, work on your happiness levels. You know from an episode in the previous season that you control 40% of your happiness. So just by boosting your happiness level with the exercises I shared in that episode, you can lift yourself up in less than 10 minutes. If you haven't listened to that episode, get back and do it. And the third thing you can do is going to catch you by surprise. Use humor. Strange as it may seem, when everything is going wrong, force yourself and try to see the ironic side of it, the funny side. If you just lost 2 projects, and on top of that you have personal issues keeping your mind busy, and maybe on top of that your bike broke on your way to work, well, it sucks. There is no other way of putting it, and it's got all the markings of a bad day. But at that point, you have 2 choices. You can be miserable about it and spend all your energy rummaging about how bad everything is, or you can look at how ironic it is that you've got all of that dumped onto you at once. Whatever you do, reality won't change, but looking at the ironic side of it will at least reframe how you place yourself in all this, and at the very least, it will give you a push. So, this way of using humor is extremely effective, but I know it may not be your thing. Your sense of humor is personal, and it may not work well to take you out of a bad place. And precisely for that, because it's so important, I suggest you check it. We all have different ways of using humor, but while there are some good ways of doing it, like seeing the ironic side of things, there are others that can just bring you down, and I want you to know if that's your case. So, the best way to find out is to head over to a website called humorstyles.com and take their basic test. It's a research-based assessment that will show you what your preferred humor style is and will let you know how good or bad that is for you. Now, let's assume you've managed to pull yourself up and handle your negativity. That was step 1. Well done. What you don't want now is to not fall back into the same loop. This is step 2. So remember, if you can't deal with your negative emotions, it will fall back on your team. And that can't be one of your leadership traits. That's why I'm stressing this point so much. You can't give in to your negative emotions that are still lurking in the background. So, for step 2, you can also rely on a few tips and tricks. 2, to be precise. Number 1, Set yourself a short-term goal and deny any impulse to stop focusing on it and take a break. Personally, this is almost impossible for me. I get so easily distracted, and even while writing this episode, I had to keep myself from checking Facebook, checking the news, taking a coffee break. I want to do all that badly. But I also know that if I interrupt what I'm doing, I will lose track, waste time, feel bad about it, and all of a sudden I'm back to square one. It's about self-discipline. I personally have very little of it, but if I manage to deny my impulse to get distracted, I'm sure that so can you. Number 2, find a way to get invested in what you need to do to reach your goals. Force yourself to be enthusiastic about your task, or maybe even make yourself a bit anxious about what would happen if you don't work enough. Whatever works for you to keep yourself engaged. This for me has also been one of the hardest things to apply because it's forced. You need to find a way to force yourself, and that's never nice. But I guarantee you that if you push through and deny your impulse to let go, you will find what makes you tick and helps you focus. Just remember that the hard part, the really hard part, is the beginning. The first 10 minutes, give or take. But if you manage to get invested in what you're doing by then, you're rolling, you're good. And once you've done that, congratulations. That is a massive accomplishment. You have successfully managed your emotions and not let them manage you. And look, if it all sounds hard, it's because it is. I never said it was easy. But the satisfaction you'll receive from getting better at managing your emotions and at the end doing it well is great. Personally, about emotional intelligence, I think this is the hardest part. But once you master recognizing and managing your own emotions well, you will immediately see a change in how you recognize emotions in others and how able you are to influence them. And that's what we will be talking about in the next episode. Thank you for listening. My name is Edoardo Binda Zane from EBZ Coaching. I'm a leadership and communication trainer and consultant. And if you have any questions about what you've heard in this episode, please reach out to me via LinkedIn, Facebook, or my website. I'll be answering the most interesting questions on the show. And if you know someone that will benefit from this type of content, please make sure you recommend this podcast to them. Thank you, and see you next time.